Okay, picture this. It is 4:00 p.m. on a Friday. The whole office is just, winding down for the weekend. And then, bam, the payroll system crashes. Hard.
Oh,
And
no.
if those checks don't process in the next, 60 minutes, nobody gets paid.
You're talking mutiny.
Well,
Absolute mutiny. Mortgages, rents.
exactly. And just to make it interesting, the CEO's printer starts making this horrible grinding noise.
That is the classic everything all at once scenario, the perfect storm.
Right. And in that moment, most people would panic. But the material we're looking at today suggests that for a real IT pro, this isn't panic. It's just, well, it's Tuesday.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're diving into Module 11 of the CertMaster A plus Core 1 and Core 2 material. And, on the surface, the topic is managing support procedures.
Which I have to say sounds incredibly dry, like a lecture on filling out forms.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Sounds like bureaucracy.
Well,
But when you actually dig in, you see this is really the nervous system of any company. It's the line between a tiny hiccup and a full-on corporate meltdown. We're talking about rigid documentation on one hand, and on the other, the very soft human skills you need to calm people down.
and that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack how the best in the business use that structure and that psychology to turn what looks like a disaster into just another routine ticket. And the source material starts with this hierarchy that I think a lot of places get wrong, the 3 Ps.
Policy, process, and procedure.
Yeah.
It's such a critical distinction. We use those words all the time, right? What's the process? What's the policy? We just throw them around.
Yeah.
But in IT, the source draws a really, really sharp line between them.
Okay, so let's break that down. Policy is at the top, right?
Correct. The policy is the what and the why. It's the high-level rule, the intent. The perfect example they give is employees must use secure passwords.
Yeah.
RAN. That's it. That's the policy. It's the law of the land.
But it's super vague. It doesn't tell me how to make it secure. Doesn't need a number, a special character.
Exactly. It doesn't tell you which buttons to click. It just sets the goal. It's like the legislative branch, It makes the law.
Okay, so if policy is the law, what's next?
Well, you move down to process, which is more of a big picture flow. But the real workhorse, where the rubber meets the road, is the procedure. You'll almost always hear it called an SOP, a standard operating procedure.
The instruction manual.
The how, 100%. If the policy is use secure passwords, the SOP is the step-by-step list. Step 1, open Active Directory. Step 2, select the user. Step 3, click reset password. It's that granular.
And the whole point, I guess, is that without SOPs, it's just chaos. If I fix a server my way and you fix it your way, there's no consistency.
It's worse than that. It's not just inconsistency, it's that you have no baseline. You can't troubleshoot. The source uses onboarding and offboarding new employees as a prime example.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, imagine 3 different techs offboard an employee, and they all do it differently.
So one tech remembers to get the laptop back. Another one remembers to shut off the email account. But nobody remembers to revoke access to the confidential finance server.
Precisely. And 6 months down the line, Bob from accounting, who was fired, still has his login, and you've got a massive security breach. And SOP takes the guesswork out of it. It takes human memory out of the equation. So if something goes wrong, you can ask a simple question. Did the person fail to follow the steps? Or are the steps themselves broken?
You can't audit winging it.
You absolutely cannot. And that brings us right to the tool that enforces all this structure, the ticketing system.
Right, which most of us know as the black hole we yell into when our email breaks, submit a ticket. But from the IT side, the source calls it an audit trail. It's the department's brain.
It's all about continuity.
Yeah.
Think about it. The text gives a scenario where a tech is, say, halfway through swapping a motherboard on a server, then their shift ends.
Or they call in sick the next day.
Right. And if all that information is just in their head, the next person is starting from absolute zero.
They might even undo the work the first person did.
For sure. A ticketing system captures everything. The original complaint, what's been tried, what failed. It links the chaos to the SOP. It remembers everything so the humans don't have to.
But the source also says the ticketing system does something else really important. It categorizes the chaos. It splits everything into requests, incidents, and problems. And I'll admit, I think most of us use incident and problem to mean the same thing.
And that's a super common mistake, but in formal IT frameworks, it's a vital difference. A request is simple. It's routine. I need a new mouse. Nothing's broken.
Got it.
Then you have an incident. That's when something actually breaks. An unexpected error, a service goes down.
So the printer grinding on rocks from our intro,
Yeah.
that's an incident.
Yes, but What if that same printer jams every single Friday at 4 p.m.? Or 10 different people report that their printer is jamming. Now, that's a problem.
A problem is the root cause.
Exactly. A problem is the underlying thing that's causing one or many incidents. If you just keep unjamming the printer every week, you're only fixing incidents. You're just fighting fires. You're not actually solving the problem.
That's a huge mental shift. Stop fighting fires and start fireproofing the building. Okay, but in the moment, you've got 50 tickets flooding in. The CEO's printer is busted, but the payroll server is down. How do you decide what's first?
Well, ideally, it's not based on who shouts the loudest. There's actually a formula for this in the source material. Severity plus urgency equals priority.
I love that. An equation for chaos. Break that down.
So severity is about impact. How many people does this affect? One person? A department? The whole company? Urgency is how time-sensitive it is. So payroll is down, is high severity, it affects everyone, and high urgency because payday is in an hour.
Which means it's critical priority.
Right. Meanwhile, the CEO's printer,
Yeah.
sure, it might feel like high urgency to him, but the severity is low. It's one person, one device. The math helps you take the emotion and, frankly, the office politics out of the decision.
Which you have to do, or you just spend all day fixing executives' printers while the core systems burn. And I'm guessing this is where escalation tiers come in.
You don't want your lead engineer, your most expensive person, unjamming a printer. It's a massive waste of their skill and salary. So yeah, the source describes it as a filter system. It starts at tier 0.
Tier 0 is the self-service stuff, yeah. FAQs, chatbots, did you try turning it off and on again articles?
Exactly. The user fixes it themselves. If that doesn't work, it goes to tier 1, the help desk. They handle all the basic SOPs, the password resets. If tier 1 gets stuck, it goes up to tier 2, your advanced support, the real experts. And if even they're stumped, it goes to tier 3.
And that's your engineers, maybe management, or even the people who actually wrote the software.
Right. It's a funnel. It's designed to protect the time of your most valuable people.
So we have the internal structure locked down, SOPs, ticketing, tiers, but companies run on promises, on contracts. You can't just tell a client, we'll get to it when we get to it. Which brings us to the SLA, the service level agreement.
The promise. It's a contract that spells out the expected level of service. Could be your ISP guaranteeing you a certain internet speed, or it could be an internal IT team promising HR a 24-hour turnaround on setting up a new hire's laptop.
It's all about managing expectations, but the part of this section that really blew my mind was the math of uptime, the rule of nines.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because in any other part of life, 99% is an A+ dia. It's basically perfect.
Yeah.
But in IT, 99% uptime is actually pretty bad.
The numbers are shocking when you see them as actual time.
Let's just look at them. If a service guarantees 99.9% uptime, that's 3 nines, that still allows for about 8.7 hours of downtime per year.
That's a whole workday. A whole workday of being down. For a hospital or a 911 call center, that's catastrophic.
Completely, which is why the critical systems, they push for 4 nines, 99.99%.
And what does that tiny extra 9 get you?
It drops the allowable downtime from almost 9 hours to just 52 minutes.
Just 52 minutes for the entire year.
Yeah. The margin for error is basically 0. One bad software update, one power flicker, and you've blown your SLA for the whole year. And that usually means you're paying penalties.
Okay, so the technical side is incredibly rigid.
Yeah.
SOPs, tiers, SLAs with almost no room for error. But you can have all of that and still fail if your technician is, well, a jerk.
The soft skills. The source material is so explicit about this. It basically says your technical skills might get you the job, but it's your communication skills that will let you keep it.
It lists a bunch of things like being respectful, consistent, but clear feels like the big one. That's where tech people can really struggle.
Oh yeah, the curse of knowledge. The tendency to use jargon. The source hammers this point. Avoid acronyms with users. You don't say the DNS failed to resolve the IP.
You say the computer can't find the website.
Exactly. But the most critical skill they talk about, the one they bold and underline, is active listening.
Which is so much more than just not talking.
It's a diagnostic tool. Techs have this terrible habit of interrupting because they think they know the answer 10 seconds in. The user starts, my screen went black. And the tech jumps in with, update your driver.
I am so guilty of that. You're just trying to be efficient.
But you have to fight that urge. Let them finish their story, and then, this is the key, you summarize it back to them. Okay, so what I'm hearing is the screen only goes black when you open the specific spreadsheet.
That does two things. It confirms you're solving the right problem, not the one you just assumed they had.
Right. And, maybe more importantly, it makes the user feel heard.
Yeah.
It lowers their stress level immediately. It builds trust.
And once you have that trust, you can use their questioning strategy. It's like another funnel. Start broad with open-ended questions. Can you describe what happens when you try to print?
It's the whole story.
Yeah, and then you switch to closed-ended questions to narrow it down. Is a little light blinking red? Is it connected to Wi-Fi? Simple yes or no.
If you start with, is it plugged in? You might come across as condescending.
Or you might just miss the real issue entirely. Okay, speaking of condescending, let's go to the worst-case scenario. The angry client. The system is down, the SLA is bleeding, and someone is screaming at you.
The advice here is surprisingly philosophical. It's almost stoic. The number one rule is view the situation as difficult, not the customer.
Wow. That takes some serious mental discipline.
It does. You have to detach your ego from it. The source says to acknowledge their feelings, I understand this is frustrating, without getting defensive. Remember, you're the mechanic, not the person who crashed the car.
But there has to be a line, right? It doesn't just say to sit there and take it.
No, absolutely not. The source draws a hard line. If the behavior turns abusive swearing, threats, you escalate the call. Or you disconnect, you hang up. You are a professional, not a punching bag.
I think that's so important for people starting out. You're there to help, not to be abused. Now, there was one more rule in here that really stood out, mostly because of, the world we live in. Social media.
The big thou shalt not of IT support. The source is crystal clear on this. Do not post about your work experiences online.
Not even if I don't use names. If I just post, had a user today who tried to use a toaster as a router.
Not even then. First, it's just unprofessional. Second, you could accidentally give away details about a company's infrastructure that a hacker could use. But mostly, it's almost certainly against your company's AUP, the acceptable use policy. The source is blunt. It's a fast track to getting fired.
Solid advice for any job, really. Before we wrap, let's just quickly zoom out to the actual tech these pros are supporting. What's the ecosystem look like?
The source gives a quick snapshot. In business, Windows is still dominant. But on mobile, it's a completely different story. Android has something like 74% of the global market.
That's, what, over 3 billion devices?
A massive number of endpoints to support. And to do that, you have to know what's under the hood. The module covers the different file systems, DEF, NTFS for Windows, APFS for Macs. You can't troubleshoot if you don't know how the data is organized.
And there's this one concept that ties everything back to security, the difference between EOL and EOS.
This is the danger zone. EOL is end of life. That means the vendor stops selling the product. For example, Windows 10 hits its EOL in October 2025.
But it still works if you have it.
It works, and you might get a few security patches.
Yeah.
But EOS end of support, that's the real cliff. When a product hits EOS, the vendor is done. No more updates, no bug fixes, and most critically, no more security patches.
So if you're running software that's EOS, you are a sitting duck.
You're a sitting duck with a giant target painted on your back. The source mentions Windows 7, which went EOS back in 2020. Running that on a corporate network today isn't just old-fashioned, it's arguably negligent.
It's a liability.
A huge one.
So looking back at all of this, the big takeaway for me is that good IT support is this amazing balancing act. You have this rigid, almost military-like structure, SOPs, SLAs, formulas, and you have to balance that against these very fluid, very human skills.
And the thing that holds it all together is the documentation. Just clear, concise, complete records. That's the only thing that lets one person seamlessly pick up where another left off.
And that's what makes sure the payroll checks actually go out.
Exactly.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought, going back to that rule of nines. We said that getting to 99.99% uptime means you only have 52 minutes of downtime for the whole year.
Which is an almost impossibly small window for humans to manage.
Right. And we tend to think of Tier 0 self-service, the chatbots, the automated resets, as just a way for companies to cut costs, to save money on staff.
That's the common perception.
But think about the math. If a human has to answer a call, verify who you are, listen to your problem, type up the ticket, how long does that take? 10 minutes. 15.
At least.
If that happens just 4 times in a year, you've already burned through your entire 52-minute allowance.
That's a really sharp point. So you're saying empowering users to fix their own simple problems isn't just about saving money.
I'm saying it might be the only mathematically possible way to even get close to 99.99% uptime. The human part of the process, the conversation itself, is just too slow to achieve that kind of perfection.
Wow. that completely reframes the idea of self-service. It's not about deflecting users, it's about velocity.
Something to think about the next time a chatbot asks if you've tried turning it off and on again. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll see you on the next one.